past, a wise man once said, space is the final frontier, and on that note, welcome to Elite Dangerous. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Panzer, and today we're taking a look at this wonderful little space game called Elite Dangerous, made by Frontier Developments. It's a developer based in the UK, and this is, I suppose, a first-person, I'd like to say flight simulator, but it kind of is a lot more than that. Alright, so at its heart it has flying controls, very similar to most flight simulators, and immersion is definitely a very big thing. You can use mouse look and look all around the cockpits of various ships that you own and pilot, and everything is kind of built into the ship in a way. Like, for example, over here, this is the main navigation and contacts menu, and over here is the sort of ship status menu, and all of these can be controlled with the keyboard as well. One thing I have noticed is this game controls very, very well using a keyboard and mouse. I'm using mouse flight at the moment, but joystick and I believe controller support is also available. But it seems to handle very well on mouse and keyboard, and most flight games typically don't. I mean, the best example I can think of right now is War Thunder, and even that kind of handles decently up to a point. Doesn't handle perfectly well all the time either. So these are very nice controls. So I'm here flying the Sidewinder. This is the starting ship that you get. I have other ships as well. I've actually been playing this game for more than a month now, but since its launch I decided now's the time to actually do this video. So this is the basic starter ship. I might show you some others later on if it seems something that we can do. And I'm just flying around this station at the moment. So right now we're at this station called Dahan Gateway, and this is a giant orbital station. Kind of looks like a cube or a sort of, well, it's definitely a polygon of some sort, but it's just, it's a multi-sided structure. And it's not just all looks, everything in it functions. For example, I can actually go very, very close to it, and I can fly all the way inside it. There's one thing that this game does really, really well is the detail, just the level of detail. Not just in graphics, but in terms of interactivity. Everything is built in, nothing is just tacked on. Just to give you an example, what you're looking at right now, you can see in the center of the screen, there is this dot and this little arrow gimbal that comes up when I maneuver. That's actually, it's not just there in the game, it's actually on the heads-up display that's displayed on the canopy. So in cases where you take too many hits to the canopy, you can actually experience a canopy breach, and that's where the glass shatters and all the oxygen vents out into space. It's quite frightening to actually see that happen the first time, but this HUD piece actually disappears because it is, well, part of the ship. And that's a very nice touch, actually, because it takes away the sort of gaminess of it and makes it just more immersive, if you will. And the same thing about the menus as well. All these are actually part of the ship, and different ships have them in different locations. So it is all very, very sort of, I would say, it definitely helps with the immersion of the game. Now, let me just show you exactly how immersive everything gets. Now, if you've ever played games like Freelancer in the past, you'll find that docking with a ship would be as simple, or rather docking with a station would be as simple as opening up the navigation menu, selecting and requesting docking, and you'd have a canned animation and you'd dock. Simple as that. In this game, however, it's a little different. So I'm going to request docking now, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I've been given, the docking request has been granted, but instead of an animation, you can see I'm still controlling it. Look, I can still roll, I can still yaw, I can still thrust upwards and downwards. All of that's still right under my control. So I'm actually manually flying the ship into the station, and I've got to find the landing pad. So we've got landing pad 21, which is over here, and I've got to manually pilot it in, lower the landing gear, and yes, manually land the ship. So you can see we've got a little landing assistance gimbal there. Might have just scraped the landing pad just slightly. but you have to do this every time. Now, some people might find that, okay, it's a little bit of extra busy work and stuff. Well, there's a way around that too. You can go to the outfitting. See, the station services that are always available. Refueling and repairing is all done down here. And the thing about it is, going into the outfitting, you could actually just fit a docking computer. Now, one thing about this game is it plays very much like an MMO. The ships themselves seem to have inherent classes available, so the roles and stuff in the game are very well spelled out. Now, you do have the freedom of doing just about anything you want. You can fly around aimlessly if you want to. There's no restrictions on that whatsoever. But you are restricted in terms of what the ship is capable of. Now, this is the starting ship, so it doesn't have much on it, but you can just see, I'm just zooming out here so you can see the entire ship. There's interesting designs in Elite Dangerous, and a lot of the ships do look very, very different. And you can see these are all the internal components that we can change and upgrade, and anything with a plus on it is upgradable at this particular station. So, for example, power plant. If I want a new power plant, it will cost me this amount of credits. If I want to upgrade the bulkheads, which is sort of the defensive hull plating of the ship, I have all of these to choose from. If I want thrusters for extra speed and maneuverability, or upgraded frameshift drive, which is kind of like a hyperdrive, which I'll show you a bit later on. And all of these, and there's also weapons. We can swap these out. These are the ones available at this particular station. There's a lot more that are available as well. There's fixed mounts, there's gimbaled mounts, there's turreted mounts, there's all sorts of different cannons and weapons and lasers available, and different utilities as well. Chaff launchers, ECMs, point defense turrets. There's a lot of things to choose from, and all of these kind of depend on what sort of role you want to fulfill. So the roles in the game can vary from doing piracy, you know, just attacking traders on their way and stealing their cargo, bounty hunting, which is kind of the counterpart to piracy, where, you know, players can go and take down other wanted players, and trading, and all sorts. And these things are also supported by the in-game questing system, or rather mission system. So if we go to the bulletin board, you can actually see there's a bunch of missions available. So anything with these sort of little cylinders next to them are hauling missions. So in this case, I could pick up this shipment of beer, for example. Or in this case, there is one for the Federal Dispatch, which I'll get onto a little bit later on. But these are those things available. Trading missions, so in this case we would have to supply them, so you can go anywhere in the galaxy and go and find Gallite, which is the cargo they're looking for, and supply them with that, and they'll reward you. You use your own money to buy the stuff they want, and they'll reward you with this amount. So you got to kind of think about it, whether it's going to be profitable or not. In most cases it'll tell you straight up whether it will be or not. And then there's bounty hunting missions, which will cost a lot, but they take a long time to do. So in this case, they want you to go and hunt down Kondar, which is a named NPC. And if you kill him, you'll get 190,000 credits. The thing about that is, you have to search around the galaxy to actually find them. So in this case, they say, okay, known locations are these 3 systems, and you have to fly around searching signal sources to go and find this ship. So there are these missions available, and so on. So in this case, now we'll get on to these ranked missions. So there are several different factions, 3 main factions: the Federation, Empire, and Alliance. The Federation and Empire are kind of at war with each other. The Federation is sort of the main, you know, the original force from Earth, and the Empire are kind of the rebels, if that makes sense. And the Alliance is kind of in between. They're neutral between the two. And there are different systems that are controlled by different factions. Within the systems, there are different factions as well. So in this system of Dahan, there is the Confederation, which is allied with the Federation. And then there are the independent factions, like the Earls of Dahan and the Morgor Crimson Pirates. And these are people that you can do missions for. So if I was to go into the bulletin board, we can actually see which factions we are doing the... There, you can see it on the right down here. So these are the factions that you will be serving if you were to do the mission for them. So in this case, this is for the Earls of Dahan, the Confederation as well as here, but some of these you need to increase your rank with them to get it. Or in some cases, I think in this case, I just don't have the cargo space for it. So getting the appropriate ship can sometimes open more opportunities for you. So in this case, I'm going to take this one, I'm going to show you exactly how these sorts of things work. Now, the cargo missions kind of depend on the actual hauling amount that you can carry on your ship, and that will kind of determine whether it'll be profitable for you or not. And those are some of the basic roles. Of course, as the game evolves, there'll be more things that'll be available. Right now, the basic framework is already in place, and since at launch, I'm going to be evaluating it based on that. So, right now, you have basically the entire known universe to travel to. And bearing in mind, these systems are all based on actual things. Like, these are not made-up systems. These are based on actual star maps and known space data. So those people who are sort of big on that kind of thing will definitely see systems that you recognize. For example, it's not within range here, but if it was, I'd be able to show you that. Okay, so we're going to Orlis right now. I'll just set course for that. So navigation is very simple. You just look for it in the navigation tab, or you can go to the maps. So there's a galaxy map, which I can actually show you. Let's just go to the galaxy map for now, since we're flying randomly off into space. So you can see these are all the systems that are available, and there's more. As in, I could keep zooming out. All of these dots are all systems. I kid you not. I can click on one over here, and this is HIP 58650. I don't even know what that is. And these are all... oh, look, Polaris. These are all systems. I could click anywhere, and if I happen to hit a star, I could actually hit... select it. So, and this is a 3D map, by the way. I just want to point that out. This is a 3D map. So if I go back to my location, if I can find it. No, no, no. Can't do that. Gotta zoom in. I might have cocked it up a little bit. But yes, so you can see the idea. The entire... this is the entire galaxy. It's just here. So you have this entire space to add on to. And these are just the systems that I personally know about. See, the information that everybody gets is slightly different. You do have most of the known systems, but some of the... I would say some of the systems are just marked stars, and the actual system itself is completely dark. But that's because there's no navigational data. And that's where exploring comes in. You might have noticed there is an explorer rank. And I suppose the end game is kind of to get your combat, trade, or explorer rank into the elite status. So, I'm air quoting at the moment, elite status. And that elite status is based on your actions. So, for example, combat rank depends on kills, trade rank depends on how much you've earned. Explorer rank is a little different because it's based on the amount of navigational data you've obtained. So you can actually scan systems and planets and stars in order to gather information about them, and then you can sell that information at different stations. Now, from what I understand, the plan is to in future have a sort of commission system so that you're contributing to a larger project. So if you're the first person to discover a star, you end up with most of the money in, and everybody gets a diminishing amount afterwards. And anyone who purchases that information, because you can purchase exploration data from different stars. For example, I can go and click on that. Can I click on that? Is there one that I can actually do this with? See, not all systems have it, unfortunately. Not all of them have this option. But you can actually just purchase. There we go. So there's no system data here. If it's available, I can actually purchase it. So you can see in this case, I can go to system view. But if that's not available, I can actually purchase that information. It's just it's not giving me the option right now. But that is something that you can do. You can also do it at stations and purchase navigational data for different systems over there. So we're going to go jump over to Orlis, and this is kind of what the hyperspace thingy looks like. So it takes a bit of time to charge up, and then away we go. Now there's a lot more to this, and I can go on to several different videos just explaining all the different things in detail, and I just might do that. I don't know if I will. But just at the outset, the game itself is very immersive, and you're the sort of person that's been looking for a kind of open world space sim, if you will. This is as close as you're going to get. Now, of course, let's address the elephant in the room here. This is obviously competing directly with Star Citizen, a game which has been garnering a lot of attention. Sorry for the stutter there, it does happen from time to time. Does it compare to Star Citizen? That is something that I can answer right now, because I have yet to play Star Citizen for myself, and when I have, then I can give you an accurate answer as to whether or not that is the case. So right now we're in Super Cruise mode, and if you notice, you might have to be on your toes most of the time when you're jumping between star systems. The navigational computer has a tendency to drop you right in front of a star, and not being aware of that can lead you to flying straight into the star and burning up. There is an emergency stop system, so if you're about to collide with something, it will drop you out of Super Cruise into normal space. Super Cruise, if you will, is just a faster way of traveling within a system. But, and there's a big but, it does have a tendency to put you in very dangerous situations. So if you're flying into a star, tendency you're already being burned by it when it drops you out of that, and that's very dangerous. As you notice, I'm also manually flying it, and I'm trying to slow down to reach this station, and I think I'm gonna overshoot it. Frankly, yes, oh, no, I am going to... Nope, I'm overshooting it. Yes, the lack of autopilot in some cases might be a downside to people. Especially if you're used to playing games like Eve, where navigating was a simple point-and-click affair. Not so much hands-on as this is. So we're going to disengage the Super Cruise and arrive at a system. Now, I wish I could show you some combat. It's not that the combat is not there, it's just that finding it is a little bit tricky, and I'll explain to you why in just a moment. So, combat-wise, there are various different types of combat you have. You can engage in PvP just about anywhere, but bearing in mind attacking innocent players or NPCs does give you a bounty, and that will cause the system authority ships, or the police, to rather chase you. If there was any flaw in the game, that would be that, because even if you have a 100 credit bounty on you, the police tend to prioritize you as a target above any other NPC. I'm not seeing it happen between players yet, but between NPCs they seem to target players first, regardless of how much they're worth. So I could be worth 100 credits, and, well, an NPC that's worth 3,000, or in some cases 20,000, is not as interesting to the police. So they'll kind of attack you first. Not an ideal situation to be in, but then again, what could we really expect? It does get a little bit annoying from time to time. Alright, so we're now arriving at a different station. The interiors of the station do seem to be very, very similar. There are some variations, I will admit. Especially around Earth, there are some luxurious spaceports with palm trees and decorations and stuff, and I'm about to overshoot that.
Landing gear deployed.
Yes, this is space and there are no brakes. So, the problem with this, I suppose, in terms of like detail and stuff, you might say, okay, it's a little bit light on that because all the stations look the same, but from the outside, they are very different, and it does take a while getting used to them. Alright, so we're going to turn this in and show you more about how the mission system kind of works. So, this is it's a matter of just going to the bulletin board and just turning it in, really. There's not much really to it. So you can see I've just done that, and this is the summary of what's happened. This is actually a new feature they just added in just prior to launch. So you can see the different factions that have done this for and what sort of happened with it. So, and the actual effect of these things. So in some cases, trading regularly with a particular, I would say a particular station or particular faction, can help to improve the economy on that. But to what end, I'm not entirely sure, because it's not really clear yet exactly how this sort of works. But there is some element of a player-driven economy going on there. There are NPCs frequently trading, though. So whether or not you can actually affect those by trading en masse still remains to kind of be seen, but it is still a nice touch that it's there. So here we can see a whole bunch of other missions, and some of these are also illegal missions. For example, this is straight up telling you to kind of steal a shipment of personal weapons. Yes. The goods are stolen, must be stolen, and they're also prohibited at this starport. So not only is it an illegal activity, we're also going to get a bounty for stolen goods and a bounty for bringing it into this port. So it's all sorts of illegal. In this case as well, this is an anti-piracy mission, so this is actually a bounty hunting mission. And again, this is a single target bounty mission. So you could count this as maybe an assassination and this kind of a... well, the typical kill 5 NPC type missions, which is very typical of MMOs. So you can see here, if I just scroll up, we've just increased our rank with the Federation. I was a recruit before, now I'm a cadet. So what does this kind of get you? Well, in some cases, I hope they have it here. I really hope they have it. They might not. We can actually buy different ships at the shipyard, and some of them are reputation locked. So, you have to load. This is a type of transport. This is a type of fighter, actually. This is a particularly good pirate ship. They don't have it here. Although this would be a good ship to kind of have. But you can see the sort of price, 17 million. It's probably going to take a while to get that. Yeah. There are some ships that are locked behind particular reputation ranks. So for the Federation, they have the Federal Dropship, and that is a good cargo ship, but it also has really high firepower. It's not a very maneuverable ship. That requires you to have a high rank with the Federation to get. So there is that. As for what other additions to, or whatever other changes it has to the reputation, is not really clear yet. So, but these sort of things happen. If you do enough missions for the Federation, you start getting these rank progression missions more and more. But it seems like this is a very aggressive place to be, because it's either recovery of stolen goods, which is this, stealing stuff, or killing stuff. So, tell you what, we're gonna jump out of this. But this is kind of just a very quick look at Elite Dangerous. It's not comprehensive by any means, but I will say that this is a very, very nicely detailed game. Very nicely detailed. And extremely, extremely immersive. It's really a work of art. That's exactly how they've done this. And I imagine this would look even better maybe played with Oculus Rift or even just Track IR, which I still have yet to try out. But I'm sure somebody who has that will definitely agree, because just being able to look around like this. And this is, it's very nicely detailed even inside. Unfortunately, I'm only showing you one ship right now, but some of the others are very, very well detailed. But so, is it any good? On its own, they've got the basics down right. They've got a very, very expansive world that you can see just looking at the galaxy map. They've got so many systems to visit, and there's so many different things to do. You can forge just about any sort of role that you really want to do. You can be a pirate, bounty hunter, whatsoever. You can do anything you want. There's so many different ways of outfitting your ship. There's so many different ways of just making use of what they've given you. It is a sandbox. I would say it lacks a sort of progression in terms of just story. I mean, there isn't a story. There isn't one. That's the only thing that really lacks between this and other MMOs, is that there isn't an overarching story. But in some cases, that's kind of okay. I think people may, some might want a story and some might not. But this is kind of like a build your own story kind of game. And frankly, it's not bad at doing that, because in the time I've played it, I've never had a play session that went the same way unless I deliberately tried to make it so. Something would always happen differently, and sometimes it's just like, and you make mistakes and stuff. There's the comm system as well. I mean, at the moment, chat is kind of lacking. It's really just sort of, well, put it this way: you can't just chat. Like, I can just say hi, but there's no targets. You have to actually target a ship to hail. You can do this to NPCs, but don't expect a response. But But there's a voice chat system in the game, which unfortunately I can't demonstrate to you right now, but it adds a really cool space radio filter that makes everybody sound like astronauts. It's really something the first time you hear it. And it doesn't get old, actually. You can hail random players. But yeah, so this is just a quick look at Elite Dangerous. Obviously, it's an MMO. There's so many things that I could show, and if I was to show it, it would be an hour-long video if it hasn't already been one. And would I recommend it? I think in this, just if you're looking for a very immersive online experience. Obviously, at launch, there may not be that many players playing, and because it's such a big world, that encountering players, even when it's highly populated, is still kind of rare. But even then, it's a lot of fun. Even just doing the most mundane tasks, like mining and stuff, is very hands-on. I mean, I could probably do a separate video just showing these things, but everything is hands-on. There isn't a single bit about this that is fully automated. If I want to mine, I have to carve off pieces of the actual rock and go and scoop them up. That's to the level of immersion that you get here. So, well, this kind of ends the video here. So, is it any good? Yeah, it's a good, immersive, space kind of flight sim game. Get a group of friends together and go and try it out. It is well worth looking at. And, that's really it. So there you have it, folks. This is Elite Dangerous. It's not available on Steam, but you can buy it through the main site for, I believe it's $60, or whatever your regional equivalent is. Currently at launch, I think its retail price is $60 or thereabouts. And it has a bunch of cosmetic microtransaction thingies available, and there will be expansions in future. If this is something that interests you, definitely go and take a look at it. As for whether it compares with Star Citizen, it might be a good contender to compete with it, but it's really hard to say at this point because, well, this is a complete game and Star Citizen kind of isn't yet. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.